Digital badging.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone in person and online. Super excited to have you all here and to be at this amazing conference. I'm Melissa. I am the Executive Director of Instructional Design and Educational Operations at the Dornsife School of Public Health at Drexel University. Yes, they pay me per letter. And I'm really excited to be here to talk to y'all about the pilot we're doing in digital badging. But so first of all, I thought we should talk, cannot do a conference presentation at QM without our learning objectives. So we're going to define digital badges, and then we're going to discuss how digital badges can be used. So what is a digital badge? I was asking myself this question about a year ago. I'd heard about them. People were asking me about them. And I was like, yeah, digital badging. I know what that is. And I was like, what the heck actually is it? So digital badging is a mechanism for students to show completion of a course or a certificate or the attainment of a competency. And they contain shareable information about the badge, the issuer, the receiver, the criteria, and the issuing date, expiration date, if there is one, and the standards that are adhered to for getting this achievement. So there's kind of two main ways that digital badges are given out. The first one is for the completion of a course or an experience or a training. And that basically says like, this person completed this experience. And then when you get into the backend metadata, it talks more about what they did to complete that experience. So a certificate of completion can be as simple as they came to the workshop and they attended, or it can be a lot more criteria. And digital badging is really kind of the Wild West of education right now. There's not a lot of rules. So, you know, the points don't matter and the game's made up. But we'll get more into that in a minute. So the other way a digital badge can be used is to show the attainment of a skill and competency. And so for this one, what you're saying is this student has demonstrated the attainment of the skill or competency. So you really need then in that case to have some sort of assessment that an instructor, a facilitator, a trainer is assessing that the student actually is demonstrating the attainment of this competency. So why the heck would anybody want a digital badge? Well, they can be displayed in a bunch of different ways. And so you'll see some examples here. I have a digital badge and micro-credential in micro-credentialing. It's very, very meta from EDUCAUSE. And so I can put it in my resume. I can tweet it out in Twitter. I can put it in my LinkedIn, or I could even put it in my email signature if I wanted to, if I really wanted people to know that I had earned this credential. And then when you click on it, it takes you here. And this is the heart and soul of digital badging, which is this back-end metadata that lets the end user see what you did to achieve that competency. And in the future, which may be sooner or later, the thought is that artificial intelligence will be able to go in and read this through LinkedIn, through resume, through kind of like the back end secret sauce that is computery stuff. You know, I know I'm an instructional designer, but sometimes the computery stuff still seems like a mystery to me. And so I think, you know, the jury is still out on whether or not digital badging is going to be the next big thing in higher ed. But I decided like 6 months ago that I thought there was enough of a chance that it was going to take off that we were going to pilot it. So how are we distributing our badges? We're using Badger. It's open access, which is really important for digital badging. So Badger can talk to Credly, can talk to Open Badging, can talk to this one. So if you earn badges from multiple places, you can pull them all into one place for yourself. So with Badger, it's your Badger backpack, but they all have their different spot. There's a free version. So I have no budget. I have no money for any of this stuff. I just, you know, go to the associate dean and say, hey, I had this crazy idea. And she's like, okay, go for it. At Drexel University, which is where I work, there is no university-wide policy on digital badging. So there's nobody I could go to and be like, how do we digital badge? The answer is nursing is kind of doing it and you're doing it. So I was like, okay, cool. And then the other thing for us is just that legal makes us get all third-party tools like approved, and it was already approved. So I was like, great, Badger it is. So our pilot is doing both styles of badging. So we have a human rights advocacy training that is part of our continuing education non-credit program. And that's a certificate of completion. It's like, did you go through this training? Yes or no? And then the other piece is the attainment of a competency for our applied practical experience. And I will go into more details about the applied practical experience when I get to that part. So with any pilot, you have to evaluate it. And so we decided we were going to evaluate it by the number of badges awarded. Like, do people even want these things? And then we're going to survey the students in October and March for the human rights advocacy course, and then in January for the applied practical experience. So the human rights advocacy training is open-ended. So we picked October and March for kind of like a 6-month in between. And then the applied practical experience ends at the end of December. So it has an end date, and then we'll survey those students. And then the other piece is that I wanted to get feedback from our student services team, because they're a lot of the people who are implementing this work. And I wanted to make sure that it made sense for them that we're going to do this and do this pilot. So for the human rights advocacy course, it is comprised of 3 modules. Know it, prove it, change it. And you can get a badge for each of the 3 modules. And then if you do all 3, you get like 1 badge to rule them all. So these are what our badges look like. Anybody who's done digital badging at your institution, you know that your dean or your associate dean is like, but what is it going to look like? And that doesn't actually matter. What matters is the back end metadata, but I had to like get these approved through marketing, which is fine. I made these in Canva. I'm not a graphic designer. It took me like, I don't know, a half an hour. It was very easy. It was free. So don't kill yourself with the look of the badges. I got the logo on there. I got the branding color. They loved them. Marketing was like, make the logo a little smaller. And I was like, okay. And then the back end metadata looks like this. So it talks about our training, which was a collaboration with Asia Catalyst, blah, 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 blah. It talks about by the end of the whole training, what students will be able to do. I don't love the layout of it. I've just got my little asterisks. I couldn't bullet it. That annoyed me, but it was free. And then the badge details with the earning criteria, I put in exactly what the students had to do to earn this badge, which is they had to go through and complete these assessments in this course. And this is a self-paced course. There's no facilitator. They're not really getting any feedback other than like, you are correct. You are wrong. Try again. We have currently 114 participants in the human rights advocacy course. I've distributed 6 badges. 2 from Prove It, 1 from Change It, and 1 overall. So, you know, not a lot of interest so far. I did survey the participants, and I promised them a $50 Visa gift card for taking my survey. Oh no, my N is wrong. My N is 29, not 14. I don't know why I put 14 there. I think I had 14 do it the first email, and then 15 do it the second email. Anyway, the percents are correct. So I asked them, have you ever even heard of a digital badge? And I emailed them about the digital badges when we decided to do this. And so, you know, not too bad. 41% had, 41% had not, and 17% were like, well, I don't know. And then I asked them, were you aware you could earn a digital badge in this training? And again, 59% said no, they weren't aware. So clearly, like, my communication to them about this was not successful. So I need to go back and fix that. They didn't know. But when I asked them, knowing I could earn a digital badge was effective in motivating me to complete the modules. And there I'm pretty happy with the results, because you see 35% of them strongly agreed or somewhat agreed that the digital badge was motivating them to finish these modules. And when you think about self-paced continuing ed, actually going through and completing it is something that I think a lot of people don't actually do. So that was exciting. So we're going to keep going at this. I'm going to keep trying to tell them that they can do this, and, you know, we'll keep seeing how it goes. So the other piece is the applied practical experience. So School of Public Health that I work for has a master's of public health. And that is very heavily accredited by CEF, which is the Council for something Education Public Health. I can never remember. But all students who do an MPH have to do this applied practical experience. And CEF gives us 22 foundational competencies that have to be met through the MPH, plus each concentration has 5 additional competencies. And so the students get to pick out of the 22 foundational and the 5 competency, what competencies they're going to demonstrate in their applied practical experience. And so we decided to pilot it for, we have a fall, most of them do it in the summer, but in the fall, we have a service learning course. So they work with community organizations and they do a project in the community where they're going to meet these 5 competencies. We have 18 students in our fall service learning course. Spring to summer, we'll have another 110 to 130 students go through and complete this experience. And we are piloting with them this fall to see how they feel about getting these badges for completing this experience. And again, so these are what the badges look like. I made them in Canva. It was really easy to do. I just kept copying and changing the words. And so I have the competency number, I have their CEF foundational competencies, and I have like the category. And then in our back end metadata, I have what it is. So the student earned CEF foundational competency 1. That's great. They earned that. And I have their earning criteria, so what they had to do to earn that. And the faculty assess the students on these competencies. So it's already built in. The reason why I wanted to do this for the applied practical experience was 2 reasons. One, it's already built into the experience. The faculty are already assessing students on these competencies, so it's not extra work on them. They're just telling me, the students are telling us what competencies they want to have assessed. And then if they're meeting those competencies, they pass their APE. So if they pass their APE, our director of experiential learning gives me the spreadsheet, and then I send out the badges to the students. So they haven't completed this yet, so I haven't had a chance to survey them on it, but they were pretty excited when we told them about that. We had a little video that they got to watch, which I was going to show you, but I want to save time for questions. So yeah, so lessons learned so far. Participants don't know what digital badges are. That's fair. I didn't really understand what digital badging was, 6 to 12 months ago either. So my second lesson is I need to improve messaging around the ability to earn a digital badge. This is where I'm going to have to tap into our communications team. Marketing is not my jammy jam, but I think it can be done. And I do think I think I saw that there is value there for the participants who knew about them and knew they could earn them. And then the other thing I'll say though, is that badging is difficult to do for an open-ended course unless it's automated. So I have to physically go into Blackboard and check to see if people have completed these assessments that they're supposed to do for these badges and then give them out. And yes, I say, oh, if you want your badge, email this, email address, but nobody was doing it. And I was like, knows nobody doing it? What's going on? So I went and they were completing the assessments. So I think it goes back to people not knowing they could earn the digital badge. So it's always kind of a circle, but in my ideal world, I would have a paid version where when they complete those assessments, Blackboard knows, and then it zips them out a badge. So that's down the line, making it scalable for us, my plan, but I have to figure out whether or not it's valuable. And we have a really small continuing ed program right now. So I have to figure out also if it's the ROI is there, right? They're talking about this morning, yeah, it's a fun, cool idea, but is it actually worth it to pay for this service? The other thing is I have 2 big questions I think we as an industry need to answer for the future, which is what the heck does a digital badge even mean? You can get one for anything. And so does that water down the value of what a digital badge is? And then we get into micro-credentialing, right? What is a micro-credential? I have a micro-credential for a 4-week course. Okay. I'm putting together a micro-credential for a 12-week experience that's for short courses. So I just think as an industry, as micro-credentialing, as digital badging continues to grow, we're going to need to kind of coalesce and come up with some definitions and some rules around this. And dare I say, some regulations or some, accreditation around digital badging and micro-credentials. So there's none right now. I think that's where we're going to go as an industry, because think they have to have meaning or they're like NFTs, which nobody wants. And then my other big question is, when I think about workforce and workforce development, what is a digital badge the same as a paper certificate to our audience? Do they really care that it's digital? Are they just as happy with a piece of paper? But then is it easier for me to give out a digital badge than a piece of paper? So these are all kind of the questions that I'm grappling with, that I'm thinking about as we go through this pilot and as we move forward and try to decide whether or not this is going to be something that we continue to do as we move forward into the next academic year. So that is the end of my prepared talk. And now I'm happy to take any questions anyone has. And please be sure to use the microphone, because we're also streaming and we want the streamers to be able to hear what we have to say.
Have you considered creating partnerships with like maybe some companies to tie in that certificate to make it way more? Because that's one thing. And then I see that some students value it when you have that LinkedIn profile and connected and also provided description as to what this certificate, what this badge means.
Yes, so definitely connecting with industry and creating specific micro-credentials that are tied to digital badges for specific industries is an area that we're going for or going to try and move into. We're in talks with creating training for long-term care facilities. And yes, definitely that is a way to move forward. Other questions?
Not really a question, but you mentioned that you use Blackboard as your LMS, and that sometimes it's hard to get them to complete the step where they actually get the badge.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who use Canvas, you may not know that Instructure just purchased Badger in April, and they're going to integrate that. So when a student does complete a course or a series of courses, it will be tracking that and will automatically award the badge.
That is amazing. I'm super jealous.
If you pay for it, yes, there's always a fee.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the internal badging system in Blackboard?
I am.
You tried to use it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't say it was good.
Thank you. Yes, I did try and use that first, and I was told these are too ugly. But I had to agree. So yeah.
Do you know if it has any capability of linking out?
It can integrate with Badger if you pay for it. So that is another reason why I picked Badger as our badging platform.
So along the same lines, we use D2L Brightspace, which has the internal badges, and we use them for courses. Faculty can create them. We can help create them, but we also use it for faculty training. And faculty have become very competitive about wanting to earn those badges, contacting us for extra attempts on assessments because they want to earn those badges. So I think it does have power, but again, it's internal. And so they can print a certificate, they can print their badge, but it doesn't really carry the weight of going beyond our institution.
Yeah, I love that though. Anytime you can get people being competitive.
Two quick things, because we're mentioning products and I work for Pearson, there is Credly. There is Credly as well. So I think there's a lot of different options. The cool thing about Badger Pathway is the ability it has to like stack badges, which is I think a really great advantage. One of the things I was wondering about, less on the technology side, more on the conceptual side, is, because there's no standard around like what size the badge is or how many badges stack to whatever, that there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace about what it is, and even more confusion maybe at the higher ed institutions as to what the heck it means. Have you had any conversations about the difference between a credential and the signal for the credential? Like the difference between a diploma and a transcript and then the actual degree. Like the degree is the credential, the transcript or the diploma is the signal of that. That's how we've had some conversations, is viewing what a digital badge is, but people get very confused as to, is the digital badge like the digital version of a printed certificate, or what the heck is that? So have any of those like how high is the level of confusion and how are you approaching solving that?
Yes, so we've had lots of conversations about that because I wanted to give out badges for students who complete our graduate minors or our graduate certificates that are both for credit. And I was told absolutely not. So that was like a big bummer for me, but I keep annoying the registrar. One of these days they'll let me. So right now the badging that we're doing is really in the continuing ed space. I mean, I'm kind of playing with fire a little bit with the applied practical experience, but it's the competencies that they're earning, not the credential. But I think where we really need to figure out as an industry is that like micro credential, what that means and how does it stack? How does it stack to 4 credit experiences? So what we're doing at my college is I just decided that I was going to be the czar of micro credentials. And we've decided that they're going to be 3 4-week short courses. And that's going to be a micro credential at our institute at Dornsife for the time being. It'll probably change. Eventually the university will kind of catch up to us and they'll probably have a different rule, but I needed for my faculty who are already very confused with like, the digital landscape that we've all been thrown into, I needed to have it be something that was concrete for us.
Mine is again, kind of more of a statement. We're actually looking at that at badging too. I work for a medical school, public health.
Yes.
We're actually looking at it both in our college and the dental schools are actually using it
Oh, cool.
as an accreditation tool.
Uh-huh.
What they're doing is they're tracking, they're redesigning their curriculum to be very much more competency based. And what they're trying to do is doing different levels of badging. You get this one at 70%, you're a bronze or silver or whatever. And they're trying to use that as a way to demonstrate to the accreditors how students are achieving competencies throughout the program. So it's kind of, they're using the badging as kind of I don't know how to say this. They're saying, well, this is why we need to do competency based because students want badges, not badging. They're using that to kind of convince the faculty that this is the way to do competency based.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, if we do competency based, they get badges. Not, we need to do competency based because that's how education should be.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the cart before the horse in a way, but I know the dental school, their biggest challenge has been, but what do you mean the system doesn't automatically know that the student has achieved this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it is, I think, a good accreditation tool, especially if you have competencies for your institution or for your discipline.
Yeah.
I think the badging actually might be a really good way to show that competency achievement.
I think it will be. And they also do, it's called an integrative learning experience. It's a capstone at the end where they identify 5 competencies for that. And so the plan is to eventually roll out the digital badging for that as well. And the other reason we wanted to do it for the applied practical experiences, a lot of them are doing an internship or like a workplace kind of thing over the summer for that. And so we thought, oh, this is great. When they're almost done with their program and they're applying for jobs, they can say, I already earned these public health specific competencies, future employer, and we're hoping it'll make them be marketable.
A question from online was, can you just define stackable?
Oh, yeah. So stackable certificates or stackable programs are when you do an experience and then you can put another experience on top of it to build up to something. So my example is we have a certificate of public health at my school. It's a credit bearing certificate. If you do that, it is the foundational courses of our Masters of Public Health. So if you do our certificate, you can be done. Or if you want, you can keep going, matriculate into the MPH, and you've already done 20 of the 56 quarter credits you had to do for your degree. And then each concentration, well, except for EPI, because they wouldn't do it, but whatever. For the online program, we have a certificate in those concentration courses. So you can come in at from that way too. You can come and say, I'm really interested in urban health. I'm gonna do the certificate. And then you're like, oh, I fell in love with public health. I'll do the public health certificate. Oh, you now have 38 credits. Why don't you just round out and finish the MPH? And it's a great way to let students take more time, right? Because 56 quarter credits in 7 years, if you're going part-time, is a lot. But if you do a certificate and then you start the MPH, your clock starts over. So you have more time to complete.
We are out of
Oh.
time. It's now 11:10. Please applaud.
Thank you all so much. Thanks. It's a lot. I know you're nervous, like, I'm gonna be like pretty sure. I picked on both, and it's just like, I got to be sure. They're really on the same way, on the same way. Go along, then you can like, their mind already elsewhere. They're thinking about lunch, about this and that.